In this video, we'll look at the new AndyCine C7 and C7S touchscreen monitor. Sorry, apparently I have to do this when I do reviews. AndyCine sent me this monitor free of charge. I have not been paid by AndyCine in any way. All opinions are my own, and AndyCine had no say in the resulting video or the review. If you think because they gave me this monitor I'll do a good review, you may leave the video in 3, 2, 1. Still here? Cool. I always include learning for those new to a subject in my videos. If you want to skip around, use the chapter markers on the video or in the description below. First, we need to unbox this. Whoa. For many beginning creators looking into monitors, the most important thing is not the LUT, scope, waveforms, false color, audio meters, and on and on and on. When choosing a monitor, the most important thing is you can trust what the monitor shows is being recorded to the camera, more so that you can see it. I loved the AndyCine 5-inch monitor. Its most redeeming feature was the touchscreen. I didn't have to click various buttons, just tap like a phone. For me, a 5-inch monitor isn't big enough, especially when shooting in a studio like this one, where the camera's about 6 feet away. I use 7-inch monitors, and for all those reasons, I was excited to get my hands on the C7 touchscreen monitor. What's a nit? A measurement that tells how bright the display is, basically. On the 5-inch AndyCine monitor, it has 500 nits. Not bad, and it worked fine for me. The new C7 is 2200 nits, over 4 times the brightness. Again, a monitor you can see under almost any condition. Here's the 500 nit monitor right now. It looks fine until you put it up against the C7 2200 nit monitor next to it. Looks the same. This one's on 1% output. This is the 5500 nit. Let me show you how this works when I brighten it up. That's the brightness of this monitor, and obviously for this on-screen camera shooting, it's really bright. In fact, looking at it, it's a big kind of whoa. In case you're interested, the way I have this set up is this thing has ins and outs all over the place. I'm running a monitor up there. The out from there is going into the C7, the C7 in. The out from the C7 is going to the in on the AndyCine. Now, you may not think 2 inches makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference for me. This is the 5-inch monitor, and this is the 7-inch monitor. The thing about the 7-inch monitor is usually I have it sitting 5 or 6 feet away from me in this type of studio space when I use it. Plus, even though I'm outside or have it closer, when I tap, you can see the menus here are much bigger, much easier to read, and this thing's just much easier to use. That 2 inches definitely makes a difference, and I highly suggest you go for a 7-inch monitor instead of a smaller 5-inch monitor. This is always a cool thing when all of a sudden you're like a little bit through the review and you realize maybe you should take off the little plastic sheet. Like the 5-inch, this also includes the amazing touchscreen controls, which I love. If you used a camera with a touchscreen, you know how much easier this is to navigate the menu system. Sliding up and down on the left side of the screen adjusts the brightness, the right side of the screen adjusts the audio levels, and sliding up from the bottom includes a very complete and customizable shortcut area. By double tapping the screen, the entire menu system pops up on the left-hand side, which we'll cover in a few minutes. Although a plastic housing, it feels rugged enough to withstand the rigors all gear goes through. Sure, if you throw it on the concrete, it might break, but so will almost every other piece of gear you have, including your phone. I like it's made out of this material as it keeps it light and cool, and when you're mounting on top of your camera or some type of magic arm, it will stay put. The housing measures 190 millimeters long by 126 millimeters high, and it is 27 millimeters thick. Some cheaper monitors bore mounting threads right through the plastic housing, and like me, you'll be disappointed as these wear out and cross-thread. That's why I like that the C7 has threaded metal inserts, and in fact has 3 mounts, a 1/4-20 on the bottom, left, and right-hand side of the monitor. With many existing monitors, when you don't have this, they can easily pivot themselves, especially if turned upside down. They can unscrew, become floppy and fall off. Or you'll have a tendency to tighten down the mounting really hard, which can damage the monitor. Speaking of which, they include their mounting bracket, which is a welcome addition as it's sturdy, holds the monitor stable, and will allow you to pivot the monitor. The bracket also has an additional cold shoe mount on it, so if you need it for a microphone, recorder, additional action cam, or whatever you can think of, it's there. To the left and right of the bottom mount, you'll also see two plugs. One is a DC in 12 volt. I love this as most of the time I'm shooting in a studio and I don't like to rely on battery power for all my gear. Between lights, camera, audio recorders, monitors, and so on, it's like 10 or 15 batteries, not a headache I need while shooting. They don't include the AC adapter, but I'm okay with that. I have plenty of these around. They're on the cheap at Amazon and you don't have to deal with various types of power, such as those between the US and EU, and it keeps the cost of the product down. The other power is an 8.4 volt out, which is a great addition. You can get an optional adapter to fit your camera, which allows a monitor on either AC or battery to power your camera. To the far left is where you'll see the SDI connectors if you get that model, which we will cover in a few moments. This offers a lot of power from two back-mounted battery slots which accept Sony batteries. I use the Sony NPF 970s as they will power this monitor for a very, very long time, especially with two of them. Or if you're using a larger expensive battery, you can get an adapter and be good for a full shooting day. The battery slides in and locks, important as you may be mounting this monitor in a variety of positions and angles, and I like the positive lock and unlock button. I've had too many other monitors that didn't have this and the batteries have fallen out if jarred or turned upside down. What's a really great feature on this new monitor is one battery can be swapped out while you're running, so you could keep this thing running all day long without any worry. It's also cool that they supply a Sony battery for you and a charger for that, so you can be right up and running. Another thing you should notice is that the battery indicator is right on the monitor. Not all monitors do that. It's very clear, and I love seeing that, although with these two Sony NPF 970 batteries in it, this thing has not reduced in the last couple of hours, so I imagine this thing's gonna go for a full shooting day on those two batteries. This may seem like a silly thing to some, but certain cameras, such as my recent Sony ZV-1, don't provide a headphone jack to monitor the sound, which makes having a headphone jack on the monitor a very welcomed feature. Once connected, you can use a spiffy swipe up and down on the right-hand side of the monitor to control the volume. Hello, 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 hello. Ouch. Although I always use the touchscreen capabilities of this monitor, they do provide button press controls for those that like that option. The menu system can be accessed and traversed using this one button, and on the left you'll see the three F buttons which can be programmed with whatever function you commonly use. A new addition to this line of monitors, right in the middle, is that ambient light sensor I talked about earlier that detects light levels and automatically adjusts the brightness. This button over here, using a long press, turns the monitor on and off. I like that it's a long press, you don't accidentally hit the button. It also doubles as disabling or enabling the touchscreen function. This video would be way too long to go through every menu. For beginners that don't understand all these terms and features, please head over to Basic Filmmaker University, where you can take a completely free monitors course where I explain all these features, what they do, and how they are used. For those that understand these terms, the system includes features you might need and want to be found on higher end monitors. Focus assist, framing, exposure, waveforms such as RGB parade, YUV parade, Y parade, vector scope, RGB histogram, audio meters, focus peaking, zoom, zebras, false color, frame guides, safe areas, anamorphic D-squeeze, image flip, 9 grid, and so on. Also included is 3D LUTs, which use built-in log to Rec 709, where you can upload up to 50 .cube files using the built-in SD card slot on the monitor housing. SD card slot also allows for any firmware updates. Do you need all that stuff right now? Maybe not, but you will in your future filmmaking and video journey, so why not get a monitor that includes everything you'll need now that doesn't cost an arm and a leg? SDI stands for Serial Digital Interface and looks like this. The benefit is there's nearly no lag whatsoever and would be used by people who need to manually pull focus on very fast moving objects while filming. In most cases, people who watch this channel don't need it. Most watching don't even have those type of connectors on their cameras. For those that do, they offer the exact same model of this monitor. The C7S includes both SDI and out terminals. The monitor will cost you another $100 and is well in line with most cameras that charge the same amount for the inclusion of SDI connectors. The SDI model also includes the HDMI in and out found on the C7, and although I have not tried it myself, I imagine you could also run the signal out to a separate recorder if you needed that functionality. On almost every video camera made, you'll have an HDMI out port on the camera. Some of these are mini and some standard. It's simply a matter of attaching your HDMI cable from the out of your camera to the HDMI in on the monitor, and you're in business. You might need to change some settings on your camera so it feeds the signal out through the HDMI, depending on your camera make and model. Both monitors include HDMI out, meaning you can add another HDMI cable to feed yet another signal to another monitor, display, or even a wireless HDMI transmitter. You may think you don't need that now, but you'll be thankful later, especially if you're working for a client that wants to see the video feed of what you're filming. As with all HDMI signals, unlike SDI, you're going to see a small lag between the action and the display. This is completely normal, and really, it's not much. This comes a bit from the monitor, but the blame is actually the way HDMI works, and more so, the camera's ability to shoot a signal out through HDMI from HDMI and into the monitor. All my HDMI monitors have this, and I have 6. Little bit of lag, and after shooting nearly 450 videos, I don't notice unless I'm moving around a lot. But as a tip, most likely you're looking in the lens and not at the monitor, as looking at the monitor is a bit odd to your viewers. Here I am looking at the top camera monitor. It looks just a bit off. You can see my eyes going up that way. You need to look into the lens. A real plus is they include an HDMI Type A to mini HDMI cable and an HDMI Type A to micro HDMI cable, which many people might not have on hand when they purchase a monitor for the first time, so I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of including that. Now the C7 includes a sunshade. I didn't see one in my package. I think that was just a mistake because they quickly rushed me like a demo unit or something like that. Their attempt was to make sure that you actually didn't need a sunshade and you could see this thing outdoors. The way they do that is with this ambient light monitor up here. It monitors the ambient light in the room and tries to adjust. For instance, if I set this down at the lowest level right now, so you can see it on the camera, it's going to try and adjust right back up depending on the light level. Now the monitor is adjusted for the ambient light temperature. All it sees is this little swaths back here. I can't do these fast enough because it's really fast, but what it's doing is it just adjusts immediately down. If you're using this and you're like, wow, I can't do this, you can easily turn it off. There it goes back. You can easily turn it off in the menus. What you're seeing right now, it looks really bright. For me, when I look at this, it's crystal clear, and it's actually the perfect brightness. So well done on AndyCine on getting that ambient light temperature thing just perfect. I've mentioned the sunshade that was left out of the package that I received, but I checked online and they do include the sunshade. I don't transport my gear much, especially in this time in 2020, but I do appreciate the very nice protective carry case for this monitor and all its parts. Many of these new monitors state that they are 4K. For many new to this, they may think this means the monitor shows a 4K image. It does not. When you see 4K, it means the monitor will accept a 4K HDMI signal from the camera. They're not trying to trick you, that's just how these are labeled, and those familiar with this, they don't have a second thought about it. Now let's face it, do you really need a 4K image showing up on a 7-inch monitor? It's rare, and if you do, I suggest you pull out your pocketbook and prepare to spend a lot more money on it. On all the listings I found for the 4K C7 and C7S, AndyCine clearly indicated the screen is 1920 by 1080. Although I can make it work, I'm going to give them a small ding on having both the SDI and HDMI ports out the bottom of the monitor. More than likely, most watching this will be mounting this on their camera, and the HDMI cables can interfere and be tough to fit in between the bracket and some camera tops. But that's a real nitpick for a monitor that offers what this one does at that price point. If you've ever used a monitor before, You probably already deal with this, don't care, or you didn't notice until I mentioned it. You may notice I never review products on this channel I wouldn't use myself and recommend to my viewers. The AndyCine C7 is no exception and has found a new home in my studio. If this is your first time looking into a monitor, I can't recommend it enough. Reminder that there are excellent paid and free courses over at Basic Filmmaker University. No spam, no ads, just good learning, so go check those out, including the free monitors course. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. All right, let's yank this thing up from 1% and see what 2200 nits actually looks like shooting into your eyeballs.